How are we trading this week? These are the pairs on my watch list for this week, how I'm intending to trade them, and where I'll be looking to take entries from. My favorite pair this week is the GBP AUD, and I am long biased on this pair. What is the rationale? What is the reasoning? We start on the weekly time frame. We have this weekly order block here, and I have denoted the entire zone with this dark shaded gray rectangle. This is the opening price denoted by the purple line of the weekly order block, and this is the entire range of that order block. Price has been making lower highs and lower lows, descending into the point of interest, but if we scrub to the left a bit, we can see price shooting away from this area. This is a key area in the market. This is our narrative, and this is our context. Price is now very close to that level. Let's zoom in on the price action now. Last week's candle was a bearish candle. It took out the previous candle's low and is now hovering right above the opening price of that weekly bullish order block. It has now created relatively equal lows. You see the low on this candle, very relatively equal to the low on this candle. Prime example of liquidity targets for price to sweep and then reverse in the opposite direction. Very simply, what I will want to see, let's go down to the daily time frame. If the new week starts and I see price doing something like this, trading lower and digging into that order block, taking out last week's low and then taking out this low from many weeks ago, then I will be looking to see, now remember this is a weekly level, so I want to see daily candles and 4-hour candles closing bullishly. This is where the most recent push to the downside originated from. The opening price of this candle is denoted by this red line. If the new week opens and I don't see more momentum to the downside because it has already taken out this low and it has now taken out this low, so it may not want to dig deeper into this level. But I do not validate that unless a daily candle trades higher and closes beyond the opening price of Thursday's candle right here. If a candle closes beyond this red line, that tells me that the narrative has shifted bullish, and I will then be looking for opportunities to enter on the 1 hour and the 15 minutes to go long. My liquidity target is obviously going to be first this high and then this high next. Those are the areas where we are likely to see price go to. The next pair that I'm interested in is the Euro GBP. The Euro GBP is continuing with the bearish bias that we had from last week because our bearish objectives have not yet been met. Now, with last week's price action, a new weekly bearish fair value gap has been created, which we see denoted by this purple rectangle inside the larger red one. Now, last week was relatively a doji. You can see that although it was a down close candle, it traded lower, traded higher, and ultimately closed somewhere in the midpoint of the candle. If we want to see a continuation of bearishness, and now we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bearish weeks, so we are due for some retracement. Where is the first level that price might want to retrace into? It might want to trade up higher into this weekly gap to rebalance it before then continuing lower. So I'm still bearish on this pair, but I'm giving allowance for Monday, Tuesday, maybe even up to Wednesday to trade higher into the weekly gap. And then if I see a change in direction to the downside on Wednesday or Thursday, or it could even be on Tuesday, then I'll be looking to take shots. What I don't want to do is if price opens and then just starts melting to the downside, I won't be too comfortable with that drop because I've not seen the retracement and the sweep that would trigger me in for shots. I'm still bearish on this pair, but I'm waiting. Euro NZD is my next favorite pair this week. The reason I like it so much is these relatively equal lows. This is even relative. This is straight out equal lows that we see on Euro NZD. Last week's price action was beautiful. We called it a bearish week, and it was a bearish week. Strong bearish close on the week. Shorts were executed beautifully. However, our weekly target has not yet been hit. We have this bullish fair value gap on the weekly time frame, and right on top of it are these equal lows. That is a prime target for liquidity. Now the problem is I'm not so sure if we're going to get an opportunity to enter because price has already respected this weekly gap that we talked about last week. See the bodies of the candles failing to close inside that gap, and the move to the downside has started. It's very possible that we see Monday just opens and from here just trades down into the area. And the thing is, once that objective has been hit, you have to move to the sideline. You don't know if price is automatically going to reverse from here, or if it's going to break through it, or if it's going to start consolidating from here. Yes, we are bearish on Euro NZD, but we need to see if it's going to give us an opportunity. Where might we see opportunities to trade? If we go down to the daily time frame, the most recent point of interest that has now been created is this daily fair value gap. I've not drawn it out. Let me get rid of this so you can see it a bit more clearly. From this candle's high to this candle's low, we have a daily bearish fair value gap This is why it's important. It has been created off of price trading into a prior daily fair value gap. Can you see that? When you have a daily fair value gap being created after price trades into a daily fair value gap, I'm not anticipating price to come back into this region. If Monday gives us a bit of bullishness and trades into this area, then I see a change of direction and price starts pointing downwards. I'd look to be a seller in this region up to this purple line at least. The next pair I'm interested in is USD CHF, and our bias remains the same, although this pair, yes, we had 1, 2, 3 days of bearishness on the USD CHF last week, which was in keeping with our bearish bias, but ultimately the week was an up close week. And if you watched my video, remember I said that this setup was premature. I needed to see a lot of confirmation that this bearish daily fair value gap wants to be respected, and we don't have that yet. Simply what I would want to see is, because this high has now been taken out and a new high has been formed, if price fails to keep pushing higher and then I see a strong bearish daily candle, preferably closing below the opening price of this Thursday candle here, then I'll know that this bearish daily fair value gap wants to do its job, and then I'll start looking for shorts. This bullish daily fair value gap has already been mitigated. That gives me more confidence that if price starts pushing lower, this level is not likely to send price higher. And if you look back in this impulse, there's no other imbalance. So if price starts pointing down, it's probably going to be free fall all the way to this low at least. Be patient with this pair. If you keep seeing up close candles, stay out of it. But if you see a strong bearish close, closing beyond the opening price of Thursday's candle, then you can go in there and start looking for shorts. The new pair that I'm interested in this week is CHF JPY, and this is the reason I'm bullish on the pair. Now, what do we see? These two red lines are the upper and the lower level of a bullish daily fair value gap. I didn't want to overcrowd this chart with red rectangles, but you can see it. This is the gap. This is the opening of the gap. This is the close of the gap. And when price traded into this gap, you see with this candle here, completely filled it in, then pushed to the upside, took out the previous high. That was a breakup structure, but it has now reversed, and we've seen 3 days of bearishness. These 3 days of bearishness have now completely disrespected this bullish fair value gap, so it has been inversed. It means that momentum is currently to the downside. Price has also traded into this gap and is showing signs of wanting to disrespect it. So I'm not looking at this order block or for price to bounce from here. What I want to see is, if you look in this impulse, the only other gap and order block that remain unmitigated are this fair value gap right here and this order block right here. What I want to see is Monday trades lower, Tuesday trades lower, maybe even Wednesday trading lower. The important thing for me to see is price sweeps out this low, then trades into this order block. It doesn't need to get as far as this fair value gap, but preferably it does. When price taps into the opening price of this order block on the 1 hour time frame, if I see a bullish engulfing candle, then I'll be looking to be a buyer. Velos the trader, and I'll talk to you later.